If I see one more comment about someone talking about 6ix9ine, I'm gonna get mad. Stop talking about it.
Something. So you guys will never ever be broke again?
I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear theory about it. I don't want to hear none of that. Oh, it was this. Oh, yo, Red.
And y'all do that. That's whack. Get no coupon for. I don't think nobody respects that.
Stop mentioning me in your videos. Stop!
The Island Boys are now caught in a federal investigation that has the whole hip-hop world shaking and their careers dangling like a loose chain in a storm. Behind all the viral chaos, the goofy energy, and the wild rainbow dreads, people are now learning that Kodiak Red and Fly Soulja might have been mixed up in something way heavier than clout-chasing skits, something that had federal agents pulling up with warrants and flipping their lives inside out. What really brought the feds to their doorstep is turning out to be darker, more twisted, and more calculated than anyone expected. And the street's been whispering about this for weeks. Exclusive clips, leaked audio, and behind-the-scenes info been moving around like a hot mixtape, and once everything came together, the picture got real scary real fast. Fam, this situation got the internet acting like detectives with magnifying glasses, trying to piece together every frame, every rumor, every detail. The story has so many wild turns it feels like a whole crime series. And every time people think it can't get crazier, another layer pops up and makes everybody lose their minds. Now let me keep it all the way straight. Social media been drowning in theories about who really broke into 6ix9ine's Florida mansion. But most of those takes been flying all over the place like loose papers in the wind. But now the actual details starting to leak out, and trust, the real story hits way different than the rumors.
Listen, boy, listen. Stop that, okay? You guys are causing me a lot of trouble, okay? Detectives came to me already, okay? Like, it's getting ridiculous. They're going to my mom. Like, this is a big problem. If you guys keep going with this Island Boy stuff, I promise you I'm gonna get mad.
Everything goes back to November 2025, the month that flipped everything upside down for Kodiak Red and Fly Soulja. These two were out here trying to keep their name alive in a culture that forgets people faster than a broken algorithm, making appearances, dropping content, and doing whatever they could to stay talked about. But while they were busy chasing relevance, a whole different storm was brewing behind the scenes. That same month, 4 masked men pulled up to 6ix9ine's Palm Beach mansion, held his 60-year-old mother at gunpoint, and tore through the entire home looking for cash, jewelry, and anything they could grab before dipping. The whole thing was so clean, so organized, so professional that it didn't look like some random break-in. It looked like a plan. Before anyone could even process what happened, internet detectives started connecting dots, and those dots started pointing in directions nobody expected. The timing was too sharp, the operation too smooth, and suddenly the feds started paying real attention. But here's where it really gets spicy, because this wasn't just some basic home invasion. This was desperation mixed with jealousy and clout addiction all in one ugly moment. This whole thing shows how far some people will go when the spotlight starts fading, and that 15 minutes of fame feels like it's ticking down to 0. The whole situation went down while 6ix9ine was live streaming with Jack Doherty, talking tough about how he moves with no security, like he's untouchable out here.
Security.
He's talked openly about not having security, and then he's advertising that he's not home on this live stream.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's silly. I don't know why he's out there bragging about not having security, because he definitely needs security, and this is not gonna go away for multiple reasons. He's an easy target. You know, when you walk around with, $250,000 in jewelry on you, if you insist on walking around with that type of money, then you need professional help. And your friends hanging out with you obviously are insufficient. You need people that know what they're doing.
He's on camera flexing, laughing, showing love to the chat, and basically telling the world in real time that he's outside and his mansion is wide open with nobody there to protect it.
All right, you know the fucking vibes. We outside. Here with my boy Jack.
Yes, sir.
Fresh home.
Meanwhile, back at his Palm Beach spot, 4 masked individuals were locked in on that exact same live stream, watching every frame like a playbook. They were timing their move perfectly, like they had been studying his habits, his schedule, his whole routine, just waiting on the exact second to act. In the streets, everybody knows timing is everything when it comes to moves like this, but this one felt different from the jump. This didn't look like some random crew trying to catch a lucky break. This felt calculated. According to people who broke down the leaked footage, These weren't just hungry kids chasing a quick come-up. These were people who already had their own viral shine and should have been stacking legal money instead of risking federal charges over jewelry and cash. Then the leaked TMZ footage hit the internet, and that's when everything exploded. You can clearly hear one of the robbers call another one by a name that lines up with a nickname tied to the Island Boys, and that had everybody gasping like, "Hold up, what?" That kind of detail had people replaying the audio over and over like it was evidence in court. The internet wasn't about to ignore that, not for a second. Social media detectives started breaking down the clip frame by frame like they were on payroll with some investigation unit. And it didn't stop with just the audio. This is where the story went deeper than voice recognition. People online started doing full CSI-style analysis, walking patterns, body language, the way these masked figures carried themselves, even their little habits under pressure. The mannerisms, the posture, the swagger, all that got compared side by side with Island Boys clips from music videos and live streams. Folks were zooming in on how they swing their arms when they walk, how they stand when they talk, even how their shoulders move when they seem nervous, and the similarities had people losing their minds. But here's where things get real, because the detail that had everybody's jaw dropping wasn't even the audio. It was the jewelry breakdown that sent the whole internet into chaos. Fans started pointing out that one of the masked robbers was rocking a chain that looked exactly like the same custom piece Kodiak Red had been flexing on Instagram just weeks before the break-in. We're talking about a detailed, engraved, one-of-one type chain, not some random mall kiosk piece you can copy overnight. The design was so specific, so recognizable, that even with the robber's hoodie half covering it, people could freeze frame the footage and match it to Kodiak's photos like they were doing side-by-side forensic analysis. That's the kind of thing that makes federal investigators lean forward in their chairs like, okay, now we need to look into this. Now let me break down the money situation, because this is where the motive starts to look way clearer than anybody expected. The Island Boys went from blowing up the internet, getting paid for appearances, interviews, promo deals, and all types of brand partnerships, to suddenly being pushed out the spotlight as new trends took over. That viral bag dried up faster than they expected, and the lifestyle they were used to wasn't matching the money anymore.
I think if God forbid it doesn't go in your guys' direction, for real, I think you guys take all of your jewelry assets and invest it in something. So you guys will never ever be broke again.
Hold on. Hold on.
Hold on. Podcast.
No.
Here, I'm moving for you. I was giving you nice advice, bro.
Meanwhile, they're watching 6ix9ine still moving in luxury, still showing off cash, still pulling huge numbers despite all his legal drama and public controversies. He's online flexing cars, jewelry, watches, and making everything look easy. And you already know jealousy can twist the mind when someone else is shining while your career starts fading. So now, here's the big elephant in the room. Once the internet started piecing all this together, connecting clues, breaking down footage, comparing chains, analyzing voices, investigators weren't the only ones feeling the heat. One of the Island Boys immediately folded under the pressure and decided to speak out. And that reaction alone told the whole world he felt the walls closing in.
Hey, for anyone that's saying that I had robbed somebody's house, 6ix9ine, Red is in the west coast of Florida, and I was in Vegas. I just got to Florida, just now. I'm riding a taxi. I just got to Florida. What you saying? Tripping? I ain't robbed nothing.
The way he responded, shaky energy, defensive tone, posting nonstop, showed just how stressed he was about the speculation circling around him. Instead of sounding calm or confident, he sounded like someone who knew these accusations were getting way too close for comfort, and that only made the internet dig even deeper. Homie came out swinging wild, throwing out alibis left and right, talking about how he was in Vegas when the whole robbery went down like he was reading off a travel itinerary on camera. He started listing taxi rides, hotel stops, and random timestamps nobody even asked for, like he was building a whole courtroom timeline before anybody accused him directly. He kept saying he was on the west coast of Florida at one point, then switching back to Vegas details, stacking locations and hours like he was filing paperwork instead of just calming the situation down. And let's be real, when someone starts offering extra information nobody requested, that's the type of defensive energy that makes everybody raise an eyebrow. Because if you really got nothing to hide, why you explaining your locations with GPS level detail? Why you volunteering timestamps like detectives were standing behind the camera? That's the type of behavior that only brings more attention, not less. But it didn't stop there. Shorty snapped even harder once the comments kept rolling in. He started telling everybody to stop talking about the 6ix9ine situation completely, getting heated at the thought of anyone bringing up the robbery or the rumors. He was frustrated, irritated, and shutting conversations down like he was trying to erase the whole incident off the internet.
Stop mentioning me in your videos. Stop. Or whatever videos you're mentioning me in, stop mentioning me in the comment section. Stop! Stop, you understand me?
Anytime someone mentioned the possible connection, he got aggressive, snapping back, acting like the comments were personal attacks, even though most people were just repeating what they saw online. That kind of panic only makes the story spread faster, especially when the internet smells fear. And then came the real bombshell. He admitted detectives had already pulled up to question him about the whole situation, and not just him, but his family too.
If I see one more comment about someone talking about 6ix9ine, I'm gonna get mad. Stop talking about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear a theory about it. I don't want to hear none of that. Oh, it was this. Oh, yo, Red. Yo, Red. Listen, boy, listen. Stop that, okay? You guys are causing me a lot of trouble, okay? Detectives came to me already, okay? Like, it's getting ridiculous. They're going to my mom. Like, this is a big problem. If you guys keep going with this Island Boy stuff, I promise you I'm gonna get mad.
That was the moment everyone realized this wasn't just social media noise anymore. Detectives questioning him means law enforcement was taking the online findings seriously enough to knock on doors and start asking real questions. And detectives bothering his family shows how deep the investigation was already reaching, which only made the internet push the theory even harder. When you got federal investigators knocking on your door because of theories flying around the internet, that's when you know something looking real suspicious, and the pressure is hitting in a way nobody can ignore. The fact that detectives even pulled up to question his mother shows the investigation wasn't some casual, let's check this out situation. It was turning serious fast. You could hear the stress heavy in his voice during his response, and the body language told the whole story before he even said a word. This wasn't the tone of someone brushing off simple rumors. This was someone who felt the walls tightening around him from all directions. The way he kept begging people to stop talking about the situation, claiming the rumors were making things worse for him, made the tension feel even louder. That's exactly how someone acts when they feel like every new comment online is another brick stacking on top of them. But here's the twist that shook the whole internet. While the online detectives were building a whole case against the Island Boys, while one of them was clearly cracking under pressure, 6ix9ine himself jumped in with a totally different story that shook the timeline like an earthquake. This is the moment the plot flipped, because his version didn't match anything the internet had been pointing at. When Aiden Ross asked him live on stream about the Island Boys rumors, 6ix9ine shut it down instantly, like he had been waiting to clear the air from the jump.
Allegedly, people are saying it was the Island Boys.
No, I don't even think Island Boys.
No, that's what I saw. I swear. That's what. No.
There were kids in this neighborhood.
What
so
the
let
fuck?
me leave that real clear. There's 230 homes in my neighborhood. What it's pointing out to be, yeah, he didn't do that then. But what was pointed out to be that it was kids in the neighborhood because there was no car that came in, no car that left. So it was white kids at that.
No way.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell no.
There was no tattoos, so
Are you gonna be
this myth that it was those two brothers that there's no tattoos, their face was able to see, there was no tats, so that's just a myth. It's just Instagram conspiracy, whatever fuck. But anyway, long story short, I'm glad that my mom's okay, I'm glad that my dog's okay, I'm glad that my family's okay.
Amazing.
And yeah, these people took the opportunity when I wasn't home.
He said he didn't think it was them at all, claiming he saw things during the robbery that didn't match their look, their style, or their whole image. He insisted the internet detectives were reaching, making up theories for attention, and connecting dots that weren't even from the same picture. 6ix9ine didn't just deny it, he denied it with details, breaking it down like he was giving investigators his own rundown of the situation. He talked about how his neighborhood has hundreds of houses, how the break-in gave local kids energy, not some organized attack, and he emphasized details about the robbers' appearance like he had studied them carefully. He got extra specific too, explaining that the robbers had no visible tattoos, that parts of their faces were actually visible, and none of it lined up with how Kodiak Red or Fly Asulia looked. He made it sound like the internet was trying to force a narrative that didn't match the facts he witnessed with his own eyes. And then he dropped the quote that had everybody rewinding the stream to make sure they heard it right. That whole moment made the internet freeze for a second because suddenly the story didn't match anymore. Let this sink in. 6ix9ine is saying it was local kids with no tattoos, while the internet detectives got voice clips, jewelry comparisons, walking pattern breakdowns, matching mannerisms, and federal investigators questioning the Island Boys. Something definitely wasn't lining up. So now people started asking the big question. Either the internet got the whole thing wrong, or 6ix9ine was protecting someone. Or something deeper was happening behind the scenes. But why would 6ix9ine contradict all the so-called evidence? That's what had everyone confused. Maybe he didn't want the situation blowing up bigger and messier than it already was. Maybe he knew something the rest of the world didn't know. Or maybe he didn't want his name tied to Island Boys drama in any street context, especially when there's already been enough noise around him for years. Sometimes in the industry, people hold back details to avoid sparking more problems, and 6ix9ine has always been strategic about what he admits publicly. But here's where the plot gets extra interesting. The fact that federal investigators were involved proves this wasn't just some local break-in like 6ix9ine described. Feds don't jump into basic burglaries just because it went viral. They step in when they suspect something bigger, like interstate movement, coordinated planning, or ties to other investigations. That means somewhere in their files, something pointed to more than just neighborhood kids messing around. Now let's break down the financial motive again, because this part is important. The Island Boys went from making major money when they first blew up. Tens of thousands for club appearances, huge checks for promo posts, interviews, brand deals, everything. Straight to struggling to book even small gigs for pocket money. When the internet moved on to new trends, their whole lifestyle crashed faster than they expected, and the cash flow didn't match the image anymore. Meanwhile, 6ix9ine is online, blessing his mom with luxury cars, flashing million-dollar piles of cash, showing his mansion, his jewelry, everything. That type of contrast can hit your pride hard when you used to be in the same viral lane. For people who don't understand street psychology, let me break it down. When you once tasted that quick fame and quick money, and then suddenly you're watching someone else flex a lifestyle you can't maintain, jealousy can turn into disappointment, and disappointment can turn into dangerous choices. Desperation makes people gamble with their future, especially when the bills keep coming but the money stops showing up. And that's the part that had the internet debating nonstop, because when you mix desperation, jealousy, opportunity, and a viral robbery, the motives start looking blurry, the clues start overlapping, and the truth gets harder to figure out. That type of contrast can push desperate people into desperate choices, because sometimes it ain't even about the cash itself. It's about the respect, the status, the feeling that you should be living the same lifestyle as the next man shining online. When you see someone else flexing what you used to have, that pressure hits different, and it can twist your mindset fast. Then things got even more suspicious when both Island Boys went silent on social media right around the time of the robbery, and that silence had the whole internet raising eyebrows. These are dudes who usually post nonstop music clips, random live streams, selfies, flexing their day-to-day life, but during the exact window of the break-in, they disappeared completely. Their last posts before going quiet were tagged in Miami, and that location had people whispering hard because Miami is barely an hour from 6ix9ine's Palm Beach mansion. That timing mixed with that distance created a whole new wave of suspicion online. But the wildest part is how deep fans went with the voice analysis. They weren't playing at all. People started comparing speech patterns, accents, little vocal quirks that only Florida natives have, and some even used voice recognition tools to get percentage matches. And the similarities they found had people stunned. Some clips showed the robber's voice breaking the same way one of the Island Boys' voices does when he gets loud. Other fans matched certain slang, tone, and inflection to old live streams and interviews. And a few claimed their software got high percentage matches that made the theory look even crazier. But here's the bigger point. This whole situation wasn't just about a robbery or some internet rumor catching momentum. It exposed a huge truth about how today's fame works. Social media fame gives you opportunity, but it also opens the door for vulnerability, and the Island Boys were living proof of that. They had fame but lost the fortune, while 6ix9ine had both, and he stayed online showing all of it off without hesitation, which made him a target whether he liked it or not. Both sides of this situation were sitting in the perfect storm. One side struggling to stay afloat, the other side broadcasting wealth like a billboard. And when those two worlds collide, chaos usually follows. And this ain't just about whether the Island Boys were involved or not. This story shows how the internet became a whole new weapon for justice. These days, fans can turn into investigative units with nothing but Wi-Fi, screen recordings, and dedication. And the results get so detailed that even real investigators have to take it seriously. We're living in a time where online detectives can build cases strong enough that law enforcement can't ignore. And that's exactly what happened here. The feds stepped into the situation because the internet made the clues too loud to sleep on. But let's not forget the most important part. The real victim in all of this was 6ix9ine's 60-year-old mother, who got held at gunpoint inside her own home. No matter who did it, whether it was local neighborhood kids or the people the internet kept pointing at, she went through something terrifying just because her son stayed flashing wealth online like life was a highlight reel. This elderly woman, who barely speaks English and spends her weeks going to church, minding her own business, had to face pure terror in her own home because of her son's flashy lifestyle, and that alone had the streets talking loud. People were shocked she had to deal with something this traumatic when she never asked for any of it. In the hood, folks been saying the same thing over and over. This whole situation don't smell right. The timing, the execution, the way the robbers moved, the aftermath, it all had a backdoor energy to it. Like somebody knew something they weren't supposed to know. The robbers didn't move like amateurs. They knew exactly when to strike, exactly how to get inside, and exactly where to search for valuable items. That doesn't happen unless someone already knows the layout or the routine, and that detail alone had people whispering heavy. They knew 6ix9ine's streaming schedule. They knew he had no security at the house that night. They knew he was distracted on live stream in another location. That type of precision doesn't pop up out of thin air. It comes from planning, knowledge, or someone with inside information. But here's where the story hits a bigger level. This isn't just about one robbery or some trending conspiracy. This situation exposed how the digital era has completely changed the game for celebrities and for criminals. When someone posts their location nonstop, flashes expensive jewelry, shows off their cars, and even gives walkthroughs of their home, they're basically creating a blueprint that anybody with bad intentions can use. 6ix9ine was literally online showing in real time that he wasn't home. And what valuables the robbers could expect to find, he practically left the door open without realizing it. Even crazier, law enforcement has been adapting to this new era because they know criminals scroll the same platforms as fans do. Federal investigators are now using social media evidence, video clips, timestamps, metadata, live stream slips, and even crowdsourced internet analysis in active cases. They're realizing internet detectives sometimes catch details that traditional investigations miss. This might end up being one of those cases that becomes a blueprint for the future, where online clues, viral breakdowns, and fan analysis stop being theories and start being legitimate investigative tools. Big picture, this whole situation isn't just a story about whether the Island Boys were involved or whether the internet got carried away. This is about how fast things can spiral in the digital age. Fame gives you power, but it also exposes every weakness you got. And when money starts running low or stress starts rising, people make moves that change everything. Whether Kodiak Red and Fly Soya had anything to do with it or not, this moment showed how dangerous social media can be when you're famous, desperate, or slipping financially. So now the real question becomes, what happens next? With federal investigators digging deeper, with social media evidence stacking, and with different people giving totally different stories, the situation is far from over. The pressure is building on every side, and nobody knows which direction things will flip in next. This story is nowhere near finished, and anyone thinking it's wrapped up is fooling themselves because the internet is still digging like it's a full-time job. We're in a whole new era where crowdsourced investigations hit harder than people expect, and criminals don't realize how fast online detectives can piece things together until everything blows up in their face. What we're witnessing right now is a shift. Real talk. It feels like the beginning of a future where internet justice and traditional law enforcement start moving side by side like an unexpected tag team. When millions of people break down footage, enhance audio, analyze shadows, compare voices, track locations, and gather timestamps, it creates a digital pressure law enforcement can't ignore. This case is already forcing celebrities to rethink everything about how they use social media, and the days of casually flashing stacks of cash, showing off jewelry, and broadcasting your movements like a live GPS might be coming to an end. Smart celebrities are already switching up their whole style, posting less, showing less, delaying uploads, and being careful about what the world sees. Now, the real question everybody arguing about is simple but messy. Do you think the Island Boys were actually involved? Or was 6ix9ine telling the truth when he said it was neighborhood kids? The situation points in different directions, and the contradictions got people scratching their heads like they're trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. Some people swear internet detectives are helping the investigation by catching things nobody else noticed, while others think the crowd might be confusing things even more by creating theories that drift too far from the real evidence. It's hard to say which side is right, and that confusion is exactly what makes this case so wild. One thing is clear though, the internet doesn't sleep, and in 2025 your digital footprint is louder than your words. Every post, every frame, every timestamp, every live stream, it can all become evidence in a heartbeat, and that evidence can be the difference between walking free or facing consequences. So stay locked in, because the deeper this situation goes, the crazier the fallout might get. And now, we're standing at the edge of this whole chaotic saga, staring at a situation that went from a simple rumor to a nationwide conversation that even federal investigators couldn't ignore. What started as a live stream moment turned into a digital manhunt, a street debate, an FBI-level breakdown, and a major wake-up call for anybody living their life online. The Island Boys, 6ix9ine, neighborhood whispers, detectives pulling receipts, fans running voice analysis. Every angle created a storyline with no clear answer, only more questions that won't stop growing until the truth finally hits the surface. This whole saga is proof that fame comes with a price, and sometimes the bill drops at the worst possible moment. The internet is louder than ever, more powerful than ever, and way more dangerous than people think. One live stream, one chain, one timestamp, one voice clip, any little detail can flip your whole world inside out in seconds, and once the streets and the feds both want answers, there's no hiding from the fallout. And that's why this moment right here matters, because we're not just watching drama, we're watching history in real time. We're watching how crime, clout, desperation, wealth, and digital exposure all collide into something bigger than the people involved. Where do the Island Boys go from here? What happens to 6ix9ine's situation now that the feds already kicked down doors? Do the internet detectives keep digging, or does this story twist again with brand new evidence? Whatever comes next, you already know the truth. This saga is far from done, and the next chapter might be even wilder than the last. If you want the real breakdowns, the raw stories, the unfiltered drama, and the street-level angles nobody else dares to touch, make sure you keep it locked right here with BarzBuzz, the only place bringing you the truth with the energy the culture deserves. Stay tapped in, because the next update might flip everything all over again. If this saga had you shook, wait till you see what's next. You already know what it is. BarzBuzz got the real, raw, and unfiltered breakdowns. So don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this with someone who needs to catch up.